All right, now we proceed with the second part of our presentation, and we will be talking about breaking changes and removed APIs. First, we want to inform you that Revit and Autodesk add-ins use Ceph Sharp library internally for several features. Some third-party add-ins do so as well. Occasionally, when different versions of the library are used, it leads to instability issues for Revit. So, to avoid version conflicts, we are clarifying that Ceph Sharp version is being used and loading it prior to all add-in initializations is recommended. In this version, Revit uses Ceph Sharp version 119.4.30. First, we want to say that we changed a lot our Macro Manager API, updated Revit Macro tool with modernized UI and code editor that will support the modern .NET API. Following methods were changed. So the add model method of Macro Manager received different arguments, so the code that uses it must be changed as well. Also, the following properties were deprecated, and you should stop using these properties like description, macro level, macro description, macro module description, and macro level for macro manage. The following methods were also deprecated in this version of Revit. There are deprecated methods to add, remove macros, get, set, document macro security options, and others, all of them listed here for your reference. The following enums were deprecated as well. We deprecated values of enum macro language type, since only C# is supported as the language for macros in Revit 2025. So basically, VBNet and Python are no longer acceptable options. Also, we deprecated macro level in macros and document macro options, and also UI document macro options. We have several changes for the array API. Now we support different sizes of arrays and project and family documents, and therefore the deprecated members is valid array size now replaced with is valid number of members, and the new methods take document as an argument to give the right answer, which is different for family documents and project documents. There are also changes in dimension API because we now introduced the linear dimension class. And basically, when you are filtering for dimensions, linear dimensions now will return as type linear dimension, which is a child class instead of dimension, which is now the parent class. So the methods that are affected are type of, get type equals, and so on. Basically, you need to check for linear dimension instead of dimension in the cases you had before. There are some fixes in the extensible storage methods. So two member functions are fixed. So the document erase schema and all entities and extensible storage filter. They had some internal problems that are now should work exactly as they supposed to. So the first one, ensure that it removes entities from all parts of Revit model. And the second method is fixed the API to ensure it filters all elements associated with the extensible storage data based on specific schema IDs. A lot of changes in the electrical API. So these are the changes for the distribution system, and the following properties were modified to support high lag delta and single phase distribution system. So all of them are listed here for your reference. I'm not going to go into the details, but it's basically a name changes like voltage to assigned voltage, number of phases to assigned number of phases, and for analytical power source, bus, transformer, transfer switch, the number of electrical phases is read-only in Revit 2025 and assigned through the distribution system. For analytical equipment load, we suggest you use the analytical equipment load data class with in property phases number. There are a lot of changes in parameter naming for electrical API. We improved naming for the following electrical parameters to remove ambiguity, improve accuracy, and better adhere with industry terminology. So it's a lot of changes. Again, all of them are listed here for your reference. So I will just glide over these several slides where all the parameters with name changes are listed. And it's worth to note that it's only the text corresponding to the parameter has changed. So pretty much the parameter ID stays the same, and you could still use it as you used it before, but name is better reflect the nature of the parameter value. There are changes in link visibility and graphic override API. The thing is, if you are familiar how visibility and graphic override settings work for linked files, in UI, we always had three options. One is by host view, one is by linked view, and there is also in UI a custom settings which were not supported by API before. But now we added this API, and because of that, we had to change some things here. So the following methods were modified to support custom settings type. It's the property link visibility type, method set link overrides, and method get link overrides. It just removed two validators. Basically, now we are able to use API for all three flavors of link visibility and graphic override settings. MAP changes. So there are changes in duct settings. Two new properties, duct settings, air dynamic viscosity and duct pressure drop data. Dynamic viscosity were added to clarify the value used in the duct pressure loss calculation. They replaced the deprecated properties that were kinematic viscosity. Some changes in the reinforcement API, just because a lot of new functionality and new API was added to govern the rebar distribution. Basically, there is much more functionality in rebar constraints manager, and basically deprecated members listed on the left-hand side here, and replacement members on the right-hand side, all for your reference. Slab API changes. The following methods were added for adding split line and point on slab shape editor. So basically the previous names, draw point and draw split line, were replaced with add point and add split line with additional arguments. Structure API changes. Mostly for bending details in view. The following parameters were renamed without any changes to their functionality. So if you use the deprecated names, you should replace it in your code to migrate your application for Revit 2025. Structure API changes for analytical surface. The following new method was added that allows users to verify if contour is valid for this analytical surface. So deprecated member is curve loop valid, and replacement member is outer contour valid. There are changes in task dialog API, mostly to support for the footer text property. It can contain a hyperlink now in the following form to actually launch Revit's contextual help for the topic specified. Previously, it was only possible to set the dialog ID in the hyperlink, and it was difficult to share dialogues with the same ID but different context and associated help. Solid API changes. The following parameters were renamed without any changes to their functionality. It is the base type, point elevation, and solid subdivide height. There is also API that was deprecated in the previous version of Revit, which we usually just completely remove in the next version. So this is the API that we removed in Revit 2025. So for classes and properties, there was one class, document entry point, that is removed now. And for properties, there was property of view schedule, image row height, that is removed, and in UI theme manager, default theme. There are a lot of methods that were also removed because they were deprecated before. Again, I list all of them here for your reference. Some methods in family manager, in binding map, in numeric filters like filter numeric less, filter numeric greater, and filter numeric equals. And also some obsoleted members of parameter filter rule factory. Again, all of them are listed here. We also removed some obsolete enums. So occupancy unit, just removed one enum value, use default values. And in the other enum, base load on. We removed the value k use default load.